Welcome to The Deep Dive. We're the podcast where we really pull back the curtain on complex topics, trying to give you the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight.
That's the plan.
And today, we are embarking on a deep dive into one individual. Someone who has profoundly shaped and, frankly, continues to disrupt multiple industries that seem totally separate. You know, electric vehicles, space travel, AI.
It's quite a spread, isn't it?
How does one person even do that, achieve such a colossal impact? And what really drives that relentless push for the
billionaire Tesla head Elon Musk?
Well, seemingly impossible.
Yeah, that's the big question we're digging into today. Our mission here with this deep dive is to kind of synthesize all your sources, you know, the detailed biographies, the latest news, personal insights, just to understand the man behind these extraordinary visions.
Right.
Think of this as your shortcut, basically, your way to get truly well-informed about one of the most, let's face it, captivating and sometimes pretty controversial figures of our time.
Exactly. So what you're going to hear is this narrative arc. It spans from a bullied kid in South Africa all the way to tech titan. We'll explore those pivotal, formative experiences, the ones that really forged his perspective. We'll look at the birth of his groundbreaking companies and, of course, his unique leadership style, which can be, well, unconventional.
That's putting it mildly sometimes.
Expect some surprising facts, yeah. Revealing anecdotes, direct quotes, too. Stuff that really brings his complex story to life for you.
And to really get Musk, you kind of have to start at the beginning. His earliest influences. That adventurous spirit, for example, it seems to have really deep roots.
In the family.
Yeah, in his family history. Particularly his grandfather, Joshua Norman Haldeman. A real daredevil, apparently. Politically active, a passionate traveler, even flew across the world in his own plane.
Wow.
But his death, tragically, in a plane crash, that really shaped the family's whole perception of risk and maybe ambition, too.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how those traits kind of echo down the generations. But beyond the grandfather, what about his parents? His father, Errol, is often described as conflict-prone. How did that shape his early world and his decision to eventually leave South Africa?
Well, his childhood in South Africa, it was tough, no doubt about it, marked by a pretty relentless bullying and what sounds like profound loneliness. And what's really insightful, I think, are those frequent trance-like states people talk about, where he'd just be completely immersed in thought. So much so that his parents actually had his adenoids removed. They thought he was hard of hearing.
Seriously, they thought it was a hearing problem.
Yeah. Turns out it was just intense concentration, this early isolation, this ability to just kind of retreat into his own head. It didn't just make him a visionary, arguably. It probably cultivated this extreme self-reliance and almost obsessive focus, a trait that lets him tune out everything else. Market skepticism, internal dissent, you name it. It's a pattern you see again and again in his career, often, you know, to the frustration of people around him.
So he's already building this powerful internal world. But that solitude, it didn't mean he wasn't engaged with the ideas, right? At just 10, he gets his first computer. And by 12, he'd programmed a game, Blaster, this sci-fi space game, and sold it for $500.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. A preteen showing coding skills, an entrepreneurial spark, and this early fascination with space. It's all there so early on. It just perfectly foreshadows his whole career, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And that fascination, it went beyond just coding games. It was in his reading, too. Big sci-fi fan.
Like Asimov.
Exactly. Isaac Asimov's Foundation series, Robert Heinlein's The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, stuff like that. It apparently shaped his big existential questions really early. He wasn't just reading for fun. He was genuinely pondering humanity's future, our fate in the universe. That became this fundamental lifelong driver for him.
So with all that brewing inside, he decides to leave South Africa. You mentioned escaping his father's behavior, but also avoiding compulsory military service under apartheid was part of it.
That was definitely a factor, yeah. So he arrives in Canada, 1988, with just $4,000.
Wow. Not much.
Not much at all. And you imagine arriving in a new country, taking these gritty jobs, like cleaning out the boiler room of a lumber mill for $18 an hour.
What do you think those early, really tough experiences instilled in him? About hard work, about building something from absolutely nothing?
Oh, it undoubtedly cemented this deep belief in just sheer effort, laying the groundwork for that extreme work ethic he'd later demand, you know, from himself and everyone else. Eventually, he makes his way to Queen's University, then transfers to the University of Pennsylvania, gets dual degrees, physics and economics.
Right, the Penn years.
And it's around this time he famously tells someone at a party, total stranger apparently, I think a lot about electric cars.
Just drops it into conversation.
Yeah. And it wasn't just a casual comment, It shows this interest was already there, percolating, long before EVs were really seen as, well, viable.
That work ethic back then, it's striking. There's that quote, isn't there, where he told a friend, if there was a way that I could not eat so I could work more, I would not eat.
Yeah, it speaks volumes, almost this visceral link between personal sacrifice and getting stuff done.
But it wasn't all work, apparently. He played Dungeons and Dragons.
He did, which maybe sounds surprising, but it probably helped foster creativity, even leadership skills,
Yeah.
Collaborative problem solving in a fantasy setting.
Okay, so that intensity, it quickly translates into his first real venture. Zip2, right? 1995.
Yep, co-founded Zip2, an online business directory, basically, with mapping software. And those early days were incredibly gritty.
I bet.
He and his brother Kimball, they were literally living in the office, showering at the YMCA, eating constantly at Jack in the Box.
You can just picture it.
And that period wasn't just about, being broke. It was about internalizing that lean, scrappy mindset that really defined his later startups.
And that grit, it paid off. Big time. Zip2 sold in 99 for, $307 million?
That's the number.
But what's really fascinating, I think, is what he did next. He immediately wanted to reinvest almost all of it. Not into houses or yachts, but new ventures.
Right. He bought a McLaren F1 supercar, sure.
Okay, so one indulgence.
One big one. But his immediate drive was clearly beyond just material stuff. That choice, the supercar, but then reinvesting most of it.
Yeah.
What does that tell you about his approach to success, even back then?
It really shows a core pattern, doesn't it? For Musk, wealth isn't the goal, it's the fuel.
Exactly. It's a resource to be plowed back into bigger, often world-changing projects.
Yeah.
Which leads directly to X.com.
Right, 1999, he invests $12 million of his own money.
And the vision was huge.
Yeah.
An all-encompassing online banking platform, person-to-person payments, the whole shebang. But his management style, that aggressive push, it quickly caused friction internally.
Yeah, and those conflicts really came to a head in September 2000, while he was on his honeymoon, no less.
Incredible timing.
He gets ousted as CEO after X.com merges with Confinity Peter Thiel's company to form PayPal.
And this wasn't just some corporate shuffle. It was a pretty brutal lesson in corporate politics. You could argue it cemented his distrust of, let's say, distributed leadership and really reinforced that intense need for control we see later.
Yeah, especially at Tesla and more recently Twitter X.
Definitely. And then right after the PayPal dismissal, talk about kicking a man when he's down, he contracts this near-fatal case of malaria.
Whoa.
Yeah. And that intensely personal brush with death, it seemed to really reinforce life's fragility for him. It shifted his focus even more towards fundamental species-level impact, particularly space.
Right. He later said something like, I thought about the things that will truly affect humanity.
I came up with 3. The internet, sustainable energy, and space travel.
Yeah.
That's the quote.
And that's exactly where he pivots. Starts getting involved with the Mars Society, making donations. Initially, he even wanted to send mice to Mars to see if they could procreate.
Yeah, the Mars Oasis Project, it was called. A bit quirky, but it showed the direction of his thinking. Then, in 2002, he tries to buy rockets from Russia.
Right. And that didn't go well.
The prices were just astronomical. He was basically told, you want one slice, you got to buy the whole cake. The Russians didn't take this young internet millionaire seriously.
So this leads to the famous spreadsheet moment on the plane back.
Exactly. He pulls out his laptop, starts crunching the numbers, and realizes, wait a minute. He could build rockets himself for way less by doing things differently. Vertical integration, challenging the old aerospace ways. So June 2002, he found Space Exploration Technologies, SpaceX. With this audacious goal, become the Southwest Airlines of space. Focus on in-house manufacturing, drive down costs.
An incredible ambition. But before he could really disrupt space travel, he had to face this brutal reality, didn't he? Setbacks that could have just killed SpaceX right there.
Oh, absolutely. The early days with the Falcon 1 rocket were incredibly tough. 3 launch failures in a row.
3 failures?
Yeah. One was a fuel leak. Another involved something called slosh, literally fuel sloshing around in the tank, causing instability.
Yeah.
Each failure was public, painful, and expensive.
So his commitment, it sounds absolute, but how did he keep going through those public failures, especially when money was running out?
His resolve was just immense. Despite being basically out of funds, facing huge pressure, Musk was unwavering. He famously vowed, come hell or high water, we are going to make this work.
Wow.
And then the fourth Falcon 1 launch, September 2008, it worked. Critical success. Finally validated his vision. It was the first privately built liquid-fueled rocket to reach orbit. A huge moment, not just technically, but psychologically. It proved his whole against all odds thing could actually work.
And he didn't stop there. Right away, he's pushing for reusable rockets, which most people thought was pure science fiction back then.
Yeah, developing the Grasshopper prototype, doing those test hops. That dream finally became reality with the Falcon 9 landing, December 2015. An absolutely stunning achievement. And the goal was clear. Deal a devastating blow to competitors by making space access dramatically cheaper.
While all that drama was happening with SpaceX, Tesla was having its own near-death experiences, right? He invested early, 2004, but became CEO in 2008.
Stepped in right during the financial crisis when Tesla was nearing bankruptcy. The original Roadster, their first car, faced massive production hurdles.
Like what?
Transmission problems were a big one. And the supply chain was just insanely complex. Body panels from the UK, motors from Taiwan, batteries shipped from China to Thailand, then England, then LA. It was a mess.
Sounds like a logistical nightmare, something that would break most CEOs. But Musk had this different philosophy about manufacturing.
Totally different. He believed in keeping tight control, not offshoring everything, because he felt that's where innovation happens. His hands-on style, they called it walk to the red.
Right, physically going to the factory floor where the bottleneck, the red, was happening.
Exactly. Addressing problems in real time. It wasn't just micromanaging. It showed his core belief that you have to solve problems at the point of friction, not from some spreadsheet miles away. A huge contrast to a lot of corporate leaders.
And that hands-on approach was critical during the Model 3 ramp-up, wasn't it? That period in 2018. Production hell, he called it.
Absolutely crucial. They were under intense pressure from short sellers, trying desperately to hit that goal of 5,000 cars a week.
Yeah.
It almost broke the company.
How did they scale?
Gigafactories. That was the answer. Building these massive facilities like the one in Austin, Texas, starting around 2020, 2021, bringing battery production, vehicle assembly, everything under one massive roof. Scale became the obsession.
So beyond cars and rockets, his vision expands. AI, brain-computer interfaces. Let's talk autopilot first. Tesla's system. He made that big decision to go with vision only, right? Ditching LiDAR.
Yeah, a controversial move. He argued it was too expensive and that humans drive primarily using vision, so cameras should be enough. Philosophically, he believed if you solve vision, you solve self-driving.
But that decision, while technically bold, it led to some public confusion about what autopilot could actually do, didn't it? And tragically, that first fatal accident in 2016.
It did. And Musk's perspective, publicly at least, was that you have to look at the overall reduction in accidents compared to human drivers, not focus on preventing every single incident, however tragic.
Which is certainly one way to frame it. Statistically, but for the public, for regulators, isn't preventing that one fatality often the main concern, regardless of the broader stats? It highlights a real tension, I think.
It absolutely does. A philosophical divide in how we measure progress versus safety.
And his concerns about AI itself run pretty deep. He talks a lot about existential risks.
Very much so. Which is why he co-founded OpenAI back in 2015. The initial goal was promoting AI safety and making sure it was accessible, not concentrated in a few hands.
But then he left OpenAI, and more recently, 2023, he started xAI.
Right. Driven, he says, by wanting a third major competitor in the AI race, alongside Google DeepMind and OpenAI Microsoft, but one focused explicitly on safety and seeking to understand the true nature of the universe. It's not just business. It feels like a deeper philosophical mission for him.
His interests are just incredibly broad, always pushing boundaries. Humanoid robots, too. Optimus.
Yeah, pushing Tesla to develop Optimus. Unveiled it in 2022. His vision there is potentially eliminating poverty, transforming society by automating labor. A huge, maybe utopian goal.
And then there's Neuralink. Brain-computer interfaces.
Wild stuff. Aiming to create these wireless chips for direct neural interaction. We've seen the early tests with monkeys playing video games with their minds. The potential implications, staggering.
He also folded solar energy into the mix, right? Solar City.
Yep, he funded Solar City, run by his cousins, to make solar power more accessible. Then Tesla acquired it, unifying the energy generation and storage efforts under one roof. Makes strategic sense.
And we can't forget the Boring Company. digging tunnels.
Right, trying to solve traffic. They've proposed operating these shuttle-style taxis in Las Vegas, in the Vegas Loop.
But that's faced some hurdles. Regulatory stuff.
Yeah, some challenges. There was controversy when a scheduled public hearing got canceled without much explanation. An NTA attorney confirmed approval could happen even without one. Raises questions about transparency, and how these new tech ventures sometimes bypass or challenge existing rules and industries, like taxi service.
Okay, let's shift focus a bit to the man himself. His character, the controversies that always seem to swirl around him, his basic worldview, his leadership style is famously intense.
Hardcore is the word he uses, enforcing strict back-to-office policies at Twitter X, operating with what he calls a maniacal sense of urgency. He's incredibly demanding.
And he dislikes process, right? Believes it becomes a substitute for thinking.
Exactly. He's all about first principles reasoning. Instead of just copying what others do or improving existing things, slightly reasoning by analogy, he insists on breaking a problem down to its absolute fundamental truths, the physics of it, and then building up a solution from there.
Which sounds great, but probably incredibly disruptive to work with.
Oh, undoubtedly. It's key to how we challenge assumptions in rockets and cars, but yeah, it makes for a demanding environment. And as his profile rose, even inspiring Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark, the scrutiny intensified.
On his personal life, too, it's been pretty tumultuous. Relationships with Justine Wilson, Tallulah Riley, Grimes, Siobhan Zilis. He has a large family. And there's been sadness, too, like the estrangement from his transgender daughter.
It's complex. And beyond the work, his social life sounds, well, eccentric.
Yeah. Costume parties. Playing hide-and-seek in castles. Didn't he have a knife-throwing act at one party? Where he held balloons?
Apparently so. And wrestled a sumo champion at another party. It's a strange mix, isn't it? Intense seriousness about his missions, but then this almost childlike, bizarre approach to leisure.
So what drives him, fundamentally? What are the core beliefs?
At the core, it seems to be this deep desire to change the world. To make humanity a multiplanetary species, something he stresses, is not inevitable without deliberate human action. He talks about increasing the scope and scale of human consciousness, and he strongly believes population growth is vital, almost a societal duty. These aren't just business targets. They're deeply held convictions about where humanity should be heading.
And his rivalries are pretty epic, too. Bezos in the space race.
A huge one. And his public clashes with Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Over climate change, philanthropy, and especially after Gates admitted shorting Tesla stock. These aren't just petty squabbles. They often highlight different philosophies on how to tackle the world's biggest problems.
Finally, the Twitter acquisition, 2022. Rebranded as X Corp. What was the driving force there?
His stated reasons were concerns about censorship, a desire to protect free speech. He famously walked into Twitter HQ carrying a sink.
Right, let that sink in.
Pretty much summed up the culture clash and the disruption he intended. And the challenges hit immediately.
Massive drop in advertising revenue.
Huge.
Right.
Plus, all the issues with the Twitter Blue subscription service, impersonation chaos, fighting with Apple over policies. It was messy.
And his solution, or attempted solution, was community notes.
Yeah, this user-driven fact-checking system. Trying to moderate content decentrally, reduce top-down censorship, but still combat misinformation, is a bold experiment, still very much a work in progress in terms of effectiveness.
So we've covered a lot. We've explored how Elon Musk is, well, undeniably a force of nature, driven by this almost singular vision for humanity's future, applying an intense, often chaotic, but you have to say, often effective approach.
Definitely effective in many ways, yeah. And you really see how his personal experiences, his challenges, they're just deeply tangled up with his professional ambitions, makes him a uniquely compelling and often polarizing figure.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, here's something to think about. Considering the immense personal toll the constant public scrutiny Musk deals with, what actually defines success for someone like him? Is it just piling up wealth, disrupting industries, or is it about fulfilling that grand species-level vision he talks about? And maybe more broadly, if that kind of progress often comes with so much turbulence, so many challenges to norms, what responsibilities do we have as a society in navigating this path toward an extraordinary future, especially when it's being shaped so powerfully by such singular, intensely driven individuals?